So, Morocco is facing a critical water crisis, and it's betting hundreds of billions of dirhams on a massive, high-tech national strategy. But what if that whole strategy is just fundamentally wrong? Well, one expert is sounding a major alarm, calling the official plan a suicidal path and offering a startlingly simple alternative. Let's get into this high-stakes debate.
So, how did this whole debate get so fiery? Well, it all kicks off with the official plan. To really get why the critique we're about to hear is so powerful, we've got to first understand what exactly the Moroccan government is planning to do with all that cash. All right, first up, the official government strategy. We're talking about a huge, ambitious plan built on large-scale engineering and a ton of money, all designed to secure the nation's water future. First, let's talk about the price tag. And wow, it's a big one. We're talking 383 billion dirhams. To put that in perspective, that's over 38 billion US dollars. It's an absolutely enormous national investment, and it's the financial backbone of this entire strategy. And what are they getting for all that money? Well, the goal is to secure just under 20 billion cubic meters of water by the year 2050. So you have this huge cost for what some critics would say is a very specific and maybe even limited amount of water. Okay, now let's flip to the other side of the coin. A water expert named Abdellah Boufaim has looked at this plan and, honestly, he's come to a pretty shocking conclusion. He argues that this expensive, high-tech approach isn't just inefficient. He thinks it's a catastrophic error for the country. And this quote right here, this gets to the absolute core of his argument. You see, a huge part of the official plan relies on desalination, the process of turning seawater into fresh, drinkable water. The problem? Desalination plants use a massive amount of energy. So for a country like Morocco that has to import most of its fuel, Boufaim says tying its water supply to its energy bill creates a fatal dependency. And he makes this really fascinating comparison. He points out that, yeah, desalination makes perfect sense for energy-rich Gulf states. They've got cheap, plentiful oil and gas. It's a no-brainer for them. But Morocco? Totally different story. It's an energy-poor nation, with energy costs that can be up to 10 times higher than a neighbor like Algeria. So he's asking, why are you copying a solution that just doesn't fit your economic reality? The risks, he argues, are just enormous. He points not just to the current high cost, but he warns that with potential currency devaluations, the price of desalinated water could absolutely skyrocket. He even draws this chilling parallel to a past agricultural policy, which he calls the Black Plan, a policy he says just devastated Morocco's self-sufficiency. For him, the end result is the same: total dependence on imported energy, technology, and parts. So if the multi-billion-dollar plan is, in his view, a confirmed suicide, what's the alternative? Well, his solution is ancient, it's geological, and it all starts with a simple little experiment you can totally picture in your head right now. Okay, so stick with me on this. It's actually pretty brilliant. He explains his whole alternative with this analogy. Imagine you have a sealed water bottle. If you poke a hole in the bottom, nothing comes out, right? Because of the vacuum. But the second you add another hole up at the top, air rushes in and whoosh, water flows freely from the bottom. Then cover that top hole with your finger and the flow stops again. This simple bit of physics, he says, is the key to understanding Morocco's entire water system. And this is where it all clicks into place. The bottle, that represents the vast underground aquifer system. The bottom hole, that's the wells and springs that should be feeding the country. And that crucial top hole, the air vent for the whole system, he says that's a mountain cave. So here it is, the crucial point of his entire theory. Boufaim argues that for decades, Morocco has been systematically sealing these mountain caves with concrete and rocks. He says this is the exact same thing as putting your finger over the top hole of that bottle. It stops the whole natural system from breathing, trapping the water inside the aquifers so it can't flow out to the country's wells and springs anymore. And the numbers he proposes are frankly staggering. Boufaim claims that by simply unsealing these caves, Morocco could naturally store over 200 billion cubic meters of water in the aquifers during a single good rainy season. That, he says, would be enough water to last the entire nation for a decade. So this all builds to a choice between two fundamentally different futures for Morocco. And as we're about to see, this isn't just about competing engineering methods. It's about two completely different philosophies for how to manage a precious natural resource. And this slide just lays the choice bare.
On one side, you have the official plan, a 383 billion dirham energy-hungry imported tech solution that he says only treats the symptom of water scarcity. And on the other, Bouffame's proposal, a 10 billion dirham energy-free solution that uses the country's own geology to address what he sees as the root cause, the blocked aquifers. Now, Bouffaime clearly does not mince words. You can just feel the frustration in a quote like this. He uses such incredibly strong language because, in his view, ignoring simple, effective, and local knowledge in favor of expensive foreign projects isn't just a mistake, it's a betrayal of the country's best interests. For him, the real problem isn't technical, it's human. He describes a system where connections are valued more than deep, field-tested expertise. And his analogy is powerful. It's like sidelining the experienced veterans, the expert bus drivers who know every curve in the road, and putting novices in charge. You risk driving the entire nation right off a cliff.
And his critique goes even deeper. He argues this isn't just about water for people and farms. That natural groundwater flow carries essential minerals out to the sea, feeding marine ecosystems. So in his view, stopping that flow is an ecological crime, starving both the land and the ocean.
Ultimately, this whole debate in Morocco forces us all to ask a much larger question. In our global rush to embrace complex, expensive, technological fixes for our biggest problems, are we maybe overlooking simpler, cheaper, and more elegant solutions that might be hidden in plain sight, just waiting in the wisdom of the past?